Well, welcome. Today, Lauren, Christine, and I are going to be talking about solar transits 39 and 53. We're going to be exploring around and seeing what we can learn and what we can play with over the next two periods of 5.5 days. So this is a time of, well, this seems like foment, a lot of bubbling going on, Christine. But,
Yeah. Yeah, I now wonder if that's just this root gate. We're in a little section of root gates here, right? They are fuel, they are energy, they're adrenalized, they are kind of, I mean, 52 is technically the energy to be still, which we're just now finishing up today. But all the other root gates are energy, they're fuel. And so like tomorrow, July 1st, we step into gate 39, which is the Provocateur is one of the names, and Obstruction is the I Ching name, and it is the fuel for provoking the spirit in life, right? Provoking emotionality. It's a very highly emotional gate, and it is here to fuel mutation, right? All individual circuitry is about that, and so. This is a really moody gate and moody channel. And so I think that this is something for sure that we could be watching for and be tracking for, because not only is, the sun going to be in gate 39, we're in a nodal environment right now where gate 55 is in the north node and 3955 is the full channel of emoting. And so the whole world is going to have the channel of emoting, which is known, like I said, as the most um, high highs and low lows and kind of all over the place emotional wave that we have. And it's here for our individual mutation, right? We are here to share something that only we can share with the collective, or empower others through what only we can bring forth. And so I don't know. I think it's going to be again, we're already in a mutative time. We're already in a highly volatile time. We're already in a place in our, evolution where things feel very up and down anyway. And so I would like to say that this might calm the waters, but I'm not seeing it. So,
I was looking at Brina Magnuson's work around this, and she chose coyote as the totem for this. And I was thinking, so adding to that, it's a bit of a tricky time, because there's this the playing of tricks and the not knowing what's going to happen and not knowing what's going to catalyze different things, and being okay with the not knowing, being okay with things getting messed up, because because there's a lot of starting energy in this. So it's like, is it a false start? Is it a real start? Is it just this mistake taking me somewhere that I really want to go? So it feels like there needs to be a bit of playfulness at this time.
Playfulness. What a great idea, Lois. Maybe that should be the practice. 5 minutes of play a day. I was listening to you talk about moodiness, Christine, and of course, this would all align, because if we go to astrology and we're looking at the Mercury retrograde cycle, which just began 2 days ago, it's in Cancer, and Cancer is all about our moods and our emotions, and looking about how do we feel about those people closest to us. And I think we're expecting a lot of opportunity here to kind of revisit relationships too, and how we feel about them, and maybe things that might have set us off that people used to say or do don't really bother us anymore. So it isn't always about dropping people. It could also be about moving closer to those we might have distanced ourselves from. I'd mentioned last time that this is a volatile time from the 29th of June, really through the 6th, 7th of this month of July. So that pretty much encompasses this whole gate period. But it is because there's so many aspects going on, and a lot of them having to do with Mars and Mars conjuncting Uranus and then trining Pluto. And so we've got a lot of actions. And again, I would recommend for those of you that like to really look at this closely, I think Kathy Rose on YouTube does such a beautiful and unbiased look at astrology. She does a month's overview. And so take a look at her July recording, and it's not fast and furious. It's nice. She just has a lovely energy to her. But I think what one thing that I've heard throughout many different astrologers reporting on this time is whatever energy that you are holding within yourself will be amplified. So paying attention to whether that is, am I all over the board? And we will be, but coming back to that centered place, because we want to amplify being focused and directed and setting our eye on where we want to land.
Yeah, I mean, it is, like I said, the provocateur is here to provoke new, ways of looking at things, new experiences, it's about, pushing through obstacles, pushing through stuckness to make something new happen, right? This is the obstruction. Mostly the obstructions are within us, but we perceive the obstructions to be external to us, right? And so I think that this is a really great moment to pay attention to what we feel is obstructing us and really ask, like, is that thing out there actually the problem, or is it an internal thing, right? And so being able to quiet down and look and be present for that is tricky, right? But there is a secret key helper that we have in Gate 39, because Gate 39 is a gate of deafness, which I can tell you, since both of my sons carry this gate very prominently, and actually, Lauren, your son does as well. It can be a pain in the ass from the outside, but it is a superpower in that it is here to be deaf to outside influence, right? And so it really is a good time to kind of really key into, like, what am I doing? What am I interested in? Who am I? What do I want to say? And what mood am I in, right? Like, if I'm not in the mood, I'm not going to do that thing. Now, that might not make somebody else happy, but it's important for all of us to follow this, especially in this time frame, to really get in touch with, am I in the mood for this or not, right? Because if we're not in the mood and we're doing stuff, it's almost always going to fail. It's almost always going to create more problems than it solves, right? So this is a great stretch of time to really practice that.
I think that there's a developmental aspect in what you're talking about, because there's been a difference between provoking and being provocative. And so, like, in that sort of lower level, shadow level of provoking, it's just that pushing and not necessarily considering the consequences of your actions, just getting a reaction, right? And so that there's an opportunity for growth here, and looking at, like, how do I actually want to show up? What am I trying to provoke? Is it like, I mean, you're trying to provoke change at all the levels, but I guess how gracefully can you do it, or ungracefully might you be doing it? Because when you're, like, if it's coming out of anger or something, it gets met with anger. But if it's coming from a deeper place, like from your heart, it's going to land different with people. So there's as years ago, there was some training I was doing, and the guy said, well, people need attitude adjustments. And that's sort of what I'm talking about here, is like, what's my attitude about this? And how I think about it or experience it is going to change how I feel about things and how I show up. So if you're, like, I think you were saying earlier, Lauren, something about being with people and that may or may not do things that you appreciate, is if you go into it with an attitude of appreciating, even though it may be different and not your cup of tea, it's going to be different than, oh, I've got to be with that person again. You're going to get a very different result.
I have the attitude adjustment Gemmo. Can you believe it? There is one. There really is. And but I want to tie into what you were saying about this attitude and also what Christine was saying. Is it me or is it them? I have a little guideline I follow, and that is everyone bothering me? Because if that's true, it's me. Or is it just one single individual? And then that may be a relationship thing. But the minute it starts to be multiple people, I can be pretty sure it's me. And so the Gemmo, it really is, it does that little, I think it changes your perspective. And it changes that perspective by changing the environment, actually. So it's black honeysuckle, which is known for its action of fluidity. But what it does, when you think about it, is it removes obstacles. So here we are in this time where we're looking at how we're going to view obstacles, and black honeysuckle just kind of reduces them so things can move. So there's movement, right? Fluidity. And on a physical plane, it's one of these extracts that are taken for very acute sore throats. And so what's going on with that? Well, there's lots of inflammation, there's pain and swelling. And so what it does is it's very quick acting at decreasing that inflammation. Well, we also get emotional inflammation. And I think that's what we're kind of talking around here is this, not having enough spaciousness, and that's when things start irritating us. I know that feeling quite well, familiar with it. So I would really suggest tapping into that. It's a great extract to take for this period. It's also one good to have on your shelf when a sore throat rolls around.
Yeah, I love that because it is true. Like, because this channel of emoting is on, everybody on the planet is going to have this emotional wave essentially, and emotional solar plexus is going to be defined, and the root is going to be defined. And that's a lot of motor energy that a lot of people don't normally have, right? And so having something that can maybe touch on that emotional inflammation might be a really nice piece for folks to play around with. Um, yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting, given there's something Richard Rudd speaks to in this particular gate, and the way to get out of the shadow is to get angry. And so there's a lot of inflammation in the anger. And so like thinking about that related to what I was talking about, the attitude change before, is like, yes, there's to be angry, but there's like, how do you be angry? It's like, how do you channel that anger? So, because I mean, it can be really, really powerful, or it can just bomb completely on you. So, this sort of looking at what do you really want to have happen, and allowing the black honeysuckle to help you.
Lois, that actually lit up something for me as you were talking about that. And I haven't heard Richard Rudd describe that, but that makes perfect sense. So if you want to bring in some polyvagal theory here, we could look at the dorsal vagal state as the shadow state. And to get out of, we're striving to reconnect, to move from a dorsal vagal state to get to a ventral vagal state, you have to activate the sympathetic state. So you have there's some energy that's propelled, and it may be anger, it could be, like hyper alertness, or something that's still out of regulation, in order to get to regulation, because you have to pull yourself out of that. Does that image align to how you've heard him describe that?
Yes, and it aligns with this idea about like the energy that's connected with this particular gate as well. I mean, that gate needs, the energy needs to flow,
Yeah.
but it's like, and if it's stopped up, and so people are hunkering down or jumping around because they can't stay with that energy, nothing's going to move.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think we've talked here before about this, the difference between anger. I'm trying to think of, he has a particular term for the kind of anger, and divine anger, right? Or righteous anger, right? And I think the kind of anger that we're kind of talking about is this divine anger, right? Like we need something within us to be so whatever, so done with that thing that we can push ourselves out of that, or be brought out of that dorsal state, right, through a not 100% resourceful way, but something really necessary, right? A provocation that really needs to happen. And then that energy can then again be transmuted along the way once we are in a more regulated state, right? And so I think that there is a lot on offer here with this kind of fueling energy that we're kind of in the midst of from the sun transit aspect right now. So I am kind of curious to see just on the global scale, like what that does bring up, right? Maybe there really is some divine anger on offer that will provoke some new spirit in the collective, right? And Lois, you had said earlier something about being graceful, which was really interesting to me because this whole stream of emoting starts with provocation in order to provoke the spirit in 55, and then the next gate in the stream is 22, which is grace, right? And this ability to speak gracefully and cautiously or not in gate 12, right? And so this whole stream of emoting is about feeling the feelings and then saying the thing, right? And this is kind of this place where we're in, like, how can we do both of those things in a graceful way that actually pushes, things pushes things forward in a productive way as opposed to a destructive way, right? So I guess only time will tell.
Yeah.
Well, Christine, I can't help but mention the I Ching hexagram of water over mountain, right? I mean, when we talk about graceful resistance, there's nothing more graceful than water carving its way through stone. And it takes time, but it works away bit by bit by bit to make its path. And I think that image might be something, we all could hold through this period.
Yeah. And a beautiful segue to 53.
53, yes, that's so true. Yeah, and so, the sun will move out of gate 39 on the 6th, I think, and then on the 7th, on the 7th it moves into gate 53, which is again another root gate. This is the gate of beginnings, and it is associated with the channel of maturation, which is about growth. It's beginnings and endings. 42 is the finishing energy, and 53 is the beginning energy, right? And so I think about these two coming together, this provocating energy, this pushing on some new way, some emotional needs, something new to happen in the world, some obstruction to be worked around or worked through. And then having done that, there is an opportunity to start something new, right? To start a new cycle. And this gate of beginnings is about starting new cycles. And it's just important that we recognize that there is going to be this energy on offer. We may feel the need to start something new. And this is a place where we have to be really clear about our own authority, right? Because just because the transit energy is pushing on this starting something new, that doesn't necessarily mean it's right for us, right? And so recognizing between the 7th and the 12th, things may show up in your path that you're like, ooh, that seems amazing. I should totally start that. But it may not be right for you, right? And so just taking a break, staying with your own, inner knowing, and not necessarily jumping in, because this can be an energy that wants you to jump in and do, new interesting things. So I don't know. I'll see. Let's see what that brings up for y'all.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting in that the impetus of the energy, and yet at the same time, this gate's very much about the slow transformation of, like, things like butterflies. And if you interfere with that transformation, it's not going to happen. So being the not jumping in makes complete sense, because it might be taking you away from your direction and your growth. So maybe just letting it inform you and sit with it rather than jump in would make sense to me.
Mhm. Yeah, I love this gate, and there's a lot of things that I think threads here to what you both were saying. I think I want to start by saying it's a pretty quiet period astrologically after a really busy period. But it's just this time period. It'll all pick up on the 14th, 15th again. But so enjoy that. But I was thinking again about the hexagram here with wind over mountain and this slow and steady carving away. And what you said, Christine, about not jumping, take your time. And the oracle for this hexagram talks of building the foundation, accepting the slow, steady pace, embracing your nature, letting know that it's a long journey, not a short one. So don't jump into things. And wind can be exciting. It can stir us up, and we all have different reactions to wind, but it certainly could stir up a lot. But it's work that it does is over time, and we can see that in the beautiful canyons in our landscape.
Well, in the I Ching, wind is the gentle, right? And so wind is, I think, very often um, in that body of work, wind is, I think, considered a calming, smooth. It's not like the wind, like a windstorm. It's not the image I get, right? And again, it does all that work you talked about gently over time, right? I mean, this is what deserts are, right? This is how rock becomes sand, in many ways. So, yeah, it is. It's interesting. I mean, this gate 53 is, again, it's a collective gate. It is here to bring change and transformation to the collective, right? And in the gene keys, the dilemma is restlessness, right? And so there can be this real energy to move and to start something new and to just move to move, right? It is a root gate. It is an energy fuel. And I think we see this a lot in the world, right? We see restlessness leading to all sorts of action and behavior that maybe we all would have been better off without any of it, right? Like and we get sucked in. Like this energy is one of those things that once you have started it, the energy wants to be completed. It wants to finish. It will keep you at it, even if your mind has been like, oh, I don't really want to do this anymore. So yeah, being able to sit with the restlessness, recognize that that's what's on offer, that's the weather during this, the 7th to the 12th, and just trying to sit and not jump in, I think is going to be really helpful.
Both of you have mentioned nature, and when I was sort of contemplating this gate, I was thinking about how nature has a sort of self-correcting aspect to itself. And does that bring with all of this possibly jumping into something? And if we do that, that it will get corrected, even if it was the wrong thing. And it had me thinking about when they removed the wolves from Yellowstone and how it totally upset the entire ecosystem. And then when they brought the wolves back, it's gone back to a more fruitful way of being. It's more natural. So I'm wondering if there are things in our world, when we're taking action, if there are things that will come along if we just allow it, rather than trying to fight it. If we're on the wrong path and find out, we should stop.
Yeah, all wise words there, Lois. And I mean, we know force doesn't get us the lasting results. So let's look at a Gemmo. And I'm thinking about silver birch seed here. And I like it as I'm rethinking it this year, is it's about potential. And when we look at it, is the only Gemmo extract that's from a seed. And so it is not out of its power that it gives, it's the potential that it offers. It is one of several extracts that we have that bring nourishment. And the two that, or the other one I'm thinking of right now is oats nourishes us. So I want to compare these because I think silver birch seed is an excellent choice, unless you're feeling really beaten down and drained coming into this gate. If you are, then oat is the nourishing extract. Silver birch seed is about nourishment for our brain. And when our brain is nourished, it's regulated and we can go slow and we can be patient and all the things that we've been talking about. So it's bringing that nourishment there. On the other hand, oats helps us feel nourished ourselves in our physical body. And that's what oats does to the land and the soil is it's a nourishing crop. So I want to offer a backup for those that maybe feel silver birch seed might be a little too pushy for them. So just the marker there would be check in. Are you feeling super depleted? Then I would go to oats and you'll get the same similar lift. It's just it's going to resonate with where you are at the moment.
Yeah, that's interesting to me too because this the gate polarity, and we didn't talk about the last gate and its polarity, but the polarity of 53 is 54, which is ambition, right? And it's a tribal energy, and it is ambitious. It is looking to try to support the people closest in, right? And so this idea that it may also be pushing on these, like doing new things and pushing to make things happen in the world. Would be really useful, I think, to have something like a silver birch seed or an oat or something to be kind of like tamp down some of that extra energy that I'm sure is going to be coming through as well.
Um, This this shifting, because the shadow in the gene keys is immaturity, and that moving to maturity comes through self-awareness. And as I was looking at this, I was thinking about my daughter-in-law. She has this is prominently in her gene keys profile. It's her purpose, and it's like over like the last quarter century, I have been able to watch her growth. And as I was reading and looking at this, I'm going, oh, I see it. And it's been an honor to get to witness that. It's like the growing from being very much about me as a very young woman to this person that's out there and caring and shifting things and so it's this development that's being offered here is really important.
Yeah, and I think you're speaking to one of the things that's difficult sometimes about this entire channel energy too, is that it is time. It requires time, right? And we can't see sometimes those cycles of growth unless we have 25 years of, like perspective and ability to see over, extended ways like, oh, look, now I see, right? So I do think that is true. That is really a part of this energy that and again, once we see those things, it's also another way we can share, right, with the collective what it is to, be well resourced in our own cyclic nature, right? Like how do we do that? And how can we share that ability with others, hold their hand through their cycles, through their beginnings, right? Their middles, their ends. This is all part of this 53 energy that's being, you know, going to be in the world in this time period.
Yeah. I think a practice that might be helpful is just sort of watching where is the edge of your comfort zone. Because like with all of this energy coming, it could your comfort zone could be under stress a lot. But just to say, like, where are the places I'm ready to move a bit, right? You don't have to take the whole jump, but it's just like, what step might I be ready to take in this direction? And test it out, see what happens, And if that works, make another little shift. we'll let time happen. All right, well, I think we're complete. So thank you for being with us, and we hope we'll see you next time.